Welcome back to Lessons in Attachment. Today we are going to explore 6 unrealistic expectations of anxious attachers when it comes to your relationships. Now, this may be when you're dating or it may be a long-term relationship. I do want to start by saying that your expectations, these are beliefs or assumptions of how somebody should be acting or what someone should be doing in a relationship. This isn't necessarily looking at what you actually do need. It's about looking at your expectations around your needs. And it's not to dismiss your needs. That's really, really important to say. Anxious attachers, I know how quick you are to put others above you. I know how quick you are to not really think about what you need. So there is, in an episode like this, there is a balance that we want to keep. However, I do want you to kind of recognize that sometimes we need to be the ones to meet those needs, or we need to just look at what is a healthy dynamic when it comes to having our needs met. Now, realistically, for a lot of people with anxious attachment or insecure attachment, your past experiences of relationship, they actually mean that you might not have witnessed healthy, secure versions of relationships, of love. And so that means that when it comes to your own experience, you don't necessarily know what is normal or what is a healthy level. And that's what we're looking at today, is just starting to think about, can we start to create that picture for ourselves? Can we start to understand what actually is a healthy long-term relationship? Because if we're basing it on our past experiences and we're basing that as true, then the chances are we're going to keep repeating old patterns, either what we've experienced personally or what we've witnessed. So I'm going to go through these 6 expectations and you can see which of them you kind of feel like, yeah, I know I do that. And that's something that I personally need to address, because the key thing is here is we can change these patterns. We can absolutely earn a secure attachment as an adult. So the first expectation is that someone should think of you as much as you think of them. Anxious attachers, like, let's think about it. Anxious, preoccupied attachment. It often means that if you like someone, then you become preoccupied with them. They are on your mind 24/7. It's not unusual for every waking moment that you're basically thinking about this person, to the point where you can barely function or focus on your life. Now, that's obviously extreme. However, chances are when you like someone, you think of them for a large chunk of time. And that kind of becomes your basis for love. It means that I love them. It must mean that I like them. So rather than us realizing, actually, this is a pattern of anxious attachment, we take it to mean this is love. This must really mean something about this person. And we actually see it as quite unfair. And like, who do they think they are? I think of them this much. How comes they're not thinking of me that much? Whereas in reality, it doesn't mean that they don't like you. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. It actually might mean that they are more secure. I know it can mean avoidance as well. I do understand that. However, we're just thinking about it from that anxious kind of perspective. And someone thinking of you 24/7, or someone thinking of you instead of being able to focus on the film that they're watching or engaging with their friends or being out without messaging you, it doesn't mean that they don't care. It just means that they're able to focus on their present moment. And actually, ideally, that's what you would be able to do as well. Ideally, you wouldn't be thinking of them as much as you do. So the solution here isn't really to get someone to think of you that much too. It's actually to think about if you can take more control of where you put your attention. The next expectation is that someone should just know how you feel. If they cared about me, if they were mature enough, they would know how I feel. That's just not true. People aren't mind readers. Everyone's individual. Everyone's had their own experiences of relationships. And also, someone even might just have that approach of, well, we're adults, so we can communicate what we need. And you might even be saying to me, but they should know how I feel because I told them last week. I've had this conversation with them 100 times. There's nothing wrong with us having to repeat ourselves. What I would say is that the biggest issue is if we just have the expectation they should know this because of X. And maybe you should finish that sentence. They should know this because of what reason? Why is it that you believe they should know how you feel? If you actually take that expectation away, and I know this will be difficult, but you might find that what you're left with is that you need to communicate that with them. And actually, if the other person is secure, if they want a healthy relationship with you, then you're going to find that they are really open to receiving that. I know it's going to be a different story if they are avoidant, but either way, you're going to find out who's in front of you. And that's really beneficial, especially if you're someone that wants a long-term secure relationship. The next expectation is that they should meet all of your needs. So I think there is just so much out there at the moment about making sure that you're in a relationship where your needs are met. Make sure you meet someone and you tell them your needs, and then they're going to meet those needs. That's just not realistic again. Someone cannot meet all of your needs, just like you can't meet all of someone else's needs. It's so much to ask of someone. Now, you may have non-negotiables. You may have certain areas of your life where for you, that's what I want from a relationship. I want someone who can see me this amount or message me this amount, and I need that. And that's going to be your decision. But there's going to be some areas where they can't show up for you in the way that you feel like you need. Inside the attachment recovery gym, we actually do have a short course on you getting your needs met and understanding your needs. So if you don't even know, well, I don't even know what my needs are, let alone getting someone to meet them, some of them, then you can go and do that course. Something else that I want to say about this, because it's been on my mind so much, is why it's so unrealistic for us to expect another adult to meet all of our needs. So, as some of you may know, but I've recently had a baby. And what I have noticed about that is that there are times where I cannot meet all of her needs. There are times where, as her mother, I can't meet every need. One, because I don't know. She can't tell me. And two, because sometimes I can't get to her quick enough. If I'm making her milk and she's crying because she's hungry, of course I'm doing my absolute best, but there are times where I can't meet all of her needs. And I think that for me, it just goes through my mind of like, of course, like we need more than one person, right? We need our friends for some things. We need our parents for other things. We need our partner for other things. And it's just about understanding that. And of course, I know that we may not feel like we always have that kind of network. We may not have our parents around us. We may not have friends around us. But hopefully you get the point that I'm trying to make. It's okay if your partner cannot meet every single one of your needs. It doesn't mean that this relationship is doomed. And actually, one of the things that's really key is that you need to meet your needs as well. Just before we go on, I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself. So, I'm Carly Ann. I am a qualified somatic attachment coach and a trainee psychotherapist. I'm the founder of the Attachment Recovery Gym, which is the ideal place if you have an anxious attachment style. If you're anxious about relationships and you're in your healing and learning era, this is the best place to be. You'll hear me refer to the Attachment Recovery Gym throughout the episodes. It is an online membership and it is full of resources, workshops, meditations, and tools that are all focused on helping people that lean towards an anxious attachment. Another expectation for anxious attachers is that someone should always be in touch. This one is a difficult one because it's going to depend on the stage of your relationship. So just take a moment to even consider, what is your expectation around, let's say you're dating someone, what's your expectation around how much someone should be in touch? You might find, oh, I saw something on Instagram that said that they should be messaging 3 times a day or every other day. You're going to have expectations around that. So just notice what that is first. But to have just this kind of idea of, well, they should always be in touch if they care about me, if they like me, if they love me, that's going to be really disappointing in those moments when they're not in touch. They're not in touch because they're busy. They're not in touch because they've got no battery, whatever it is. it's going to be really disappointing. We're not going to dismiss that, of course, we need people to be in touch. It's just that high expectation when we are putting something out there that's unrealistic, because when that's not met, we're going to get really, really anxious. The next expectation is that you should always be a priority. This one is quite similar in terms of, I guess, expecting someone to meet all of your needs, someone to be there for you all of the time. It is really key that when you're in relationship with anyone, that we do feel important. We don't want to not feel important because we're humans. To be someone's priority most of the time, that's great. To be a priority in someone's life overall, of course, that's important. But to be a priority doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has to drop everything in one moment to prove that we are that priority. A really common example is that if your partner is out and they're with their friends or they're with their family or they're focused on something else, and you feel like, well, if they're not messaging me right now, it's very similar to the thinking about you. If they're not messaging me right now, if they're not responding to me right now, then clearly I'm not a priority. If they have something coming up and they've not invited you, that means that I'm not a priority and they don't want me there. Sometimes it's not that, and I'll let you create the other reasons that someone might not invite us to something. I'll let you think about what other people might be doing in those moments when we feel like we're not a priority, because you really, that's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to zoom out and you want to be able to consider, what are the other reasons? If it's not that I'm not important to them, what are the other reasons that somebody might not be meeting this expectation? And the final expectation I want to talk to you about, again, real grey areas, and I want to just be really balanced about this. It's that they should never let me down. I don't want you to walk away from this thinking, right, okay, so it's okay if I'm with someone that lets me down. I'm not talking about like betrayal. Betrayal can be really, really traumatic. But I am talking about if someone cancels a date on you once. I'm talking about if someone is sometimes late. And I think that's the key word, sometimes. People make mistakes, people let us down, people don't meet our expectations. And again, not betrayal, okay? Not going against something that is a clear boundary, or, that really impacts our trust. But sometimes we're going to be let down, and to think that that's never going to happen within our relationships is probably quite unrealistic. And if we end every friendship, if we end every relationship because we feel let down, and if we haven't really explored, is this coming from my past, is this coming from my anxiety, we might find that we're quick just to end every relationship. Whereas sometimes, maybe there's a second chance that can be given. Maybe we can have a discussion. And again, I'm just going to say this again before I get any comments of, oh, you're saying that we should stay in a relationship with someone that's hurt us and cheated on us. That's just not what I'm saying, okay? I'm talking about those little ways. If that is the decision that you make, that's each their own. But I'm really talking about those kind of daily letdowns of like being late and cancelling plans or changing plans or forgetting something. We're all human. In anxious attachers, we can take that stuff really, really personally rather than see that these are human errors sometimes. So there's 6 common expectations that anxious attachers have that can make it really difficult to be able to sustain a long-term relationship, because these are things that can be quite common in relationships, that we really need to find that balance around. I just really don't want you to dismiss your needs. I've said that several times and I just want to make that really clear. But I also do want you just to take some ownership of where you might be putting quite high expectations on love and on relationships, because you want a long-term relationship, you want to feel more secure. So just noticing our own thinking patterns and what we actually expect and the assumptions that we have about relationships is really key. And we can change this. Like I've said, we can change these patterns. So hopefully you have found that useful. I would say to come and follow me on Instagram, carly.ann_. I'm always posting lots of content around how you can move from anxious towards secure. And please do subscribe to the channel. And also, you can just check in the description if you want more details about the attachment recovery gym or access to our free workshop and things like that. Otherwise, I will be back here soon.